Next session, and I appreciate that this is a change in the program, the next session is one of my favorite stories of all. First of all, because I admire companies that take that not only talk about things, but do things, and I think that's ULTA Beauty. And Mary Dillon, the CEO, is here. But then we had foreseen that I was going to have a fireside chat with her until we realized she just acquired a Latina company herself. And that is Agustina Sartorio Dizzo, the founder and CEO of Glamist. And they're going to have a discussion after we watch this video. This is one of my favorite sessions because you see Latinas, we can totally be acquired by companies like ULTA Beauty. So bring on the video, John.
It's a pleasure to be here in this moment that I think it's very special both for ULTA and for Glam Street too. So looking at ULTA's client, and I think this goes along with what we've been discussing today, the Hispanics and millennials and Gen Z are actually one of the biggest demographics of ULTA Beauty, right? So this event is really empowering, but in a way it makes us realize of the power and the impact that we have as Hispanics in the United States. So when we see this message here, I think ULTA is not only showing like what they're doing, but also why we're doing what we're doing at ULTA, right? And in a way, both of us here is a proof of dreams, passion, following what we want to achieve, right? And it's a history also of, as you mentioned, Hispanics, right? So I would like to learn a little bit more about this new diversity-focused campaign and how does this really impact and what does it mean really for ULTA's vision?
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you. I'm honored to be here as well. And frankly, to have Augustina interview me. So as Claudia said, we'll come back to this, I'm sure, but it's an exciting time in our history because we made our first 2 acquisitions in the technology space. And Augustina is the founder and CEO of a company called Glam Street, based in Silicon Valley and Uruguay. And we're very excited about the capabilities that it's going to give us, especially in the augmented reality space. So we've already worked with these guys for a while to do virtual try-on for makeup, but there's a lot more to come, and we looked for the best of the best. And guess who we found? Augustina, who's yes, exactly. So... And she, even before working with us, she had already developed a very strong client base of brands like Maybelline and Estee Lauder and Clarins, and has been recognized with many awards. So anyways, it's really timely and very awesome for us to be here. And what you just saw there is just a snippet of a campaign. In fact, I think one of my marketing leaders is here, Carla Davis. We've been working to really take ULTA Beauty's messaging, I guess I'd say, to the next level, to really create an emotional connection with our guests that's well beyond just what we sell and what our stores are about, but the role that ULTA Beauty can play in really helping everybody find their inner beauty. It's limitless, and as you saw in the advertising, we show people from all parts of life, any age and race, male, female, and to really celebrate what really connects us in terms of the spirit of beauty. So we're checking a mic here. So anyways, you also might have noticed that was in Spanish. So obviously, a really key part of what we do at ULTA Beauty is understand consumer dynamics and guest dynamics and where the business is growing and how do we leverage growth further. And so for us, the Latina is one of our top consumer-focused targets, right? It's obvious, you've talked about this all day, fastest growing segment in the U.S., highly involved in the beauty categories, I'm sure people here know. And also, I think the message really we found connected with our insights about Latinas, about beauty being more than just superficial and really something that's deeper and about how you present yourself and how you carry on traditions traditions, right, from generations about beauty. So we try to bring this to life for all of our guests. And I'd say this campaign is part of, there's television and radio and social media, many other things. But I can tell you what, it's working. We're getting fantastic feedback on it. And I'm proud of it.
Great. So you recently acquired, as we mentioned, you recently acquired my company, Glam Street, right? And we developed technology, as Mary said, augmented reality in the beauty space. Most of our team, 90% of our team, is based in Uruguay. I started this company from Uruguay, and then I moved to the United States. Our team is highly technical, and it's something that I'm deeply proud of. And now we're part of the innovation team at ULTA, right? As you mentioned, also, this was one of the first ever acquisitions also of ULTA Beauty. So I want to ask you, because this could be a big risk for a big corporation in the United States, right? So what made you decide yes, and also why now?
And why now? Right. So Augustina's right. We had not made any acquisitions before, so kind of a big deal. And, obviously the role of technology is important in every business that's run on the planet today. For us, and the beauty industry, specifically Ulta Beauty, there's a lot of things we could chase after. We are very focused on just things that are going to help us grow and differentiate and grow our market share, right? So the notion of virtual try-on of things, so you can imagine our whole business concept has been built on come into our little playground of beauty and try products, try the scents and the colors and the fragrances and the textures. So bringing that into the digital space and then imagining where we can take that in the future, bringing together the digital and the physical, the emotional and the tactical is really important to us. So I said already that as we scoured the planet on, to find the best fit for us, what we found was Augustina's company. We also bought another company called QM Scientific. They're focused on artificial intelligence, so helping us use our deep member data to drive more personalization strategy. But in the case of virtual try-on, it's just for us, it's about how do we do it, why now? Well, we'd like to do it better, faster than anybody else. And we also were looking for a great cultural fit. And Augustina and her team were like the perfect fit for our company as it relates to how we lead, I guess, through a lens of guest insight and humility. So that's why.
When I look back at my path of entrepreneurship, I see that mentors, and we touched on this topic here also some minutes before, mentors were very key in my journey. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, what importance do you give to mentorship? And what mentors do you have, if any? And also, if you actually mentor younger generations?
Yes, I guess I'll just step back and say I think part of what I do every day is around mentoring. I think the older I get and the longer I've been in business, the more I realize how much we need people to help us. And I think not just women, but certainly women and younger women are often coming to me for advice on their careers. I started out in a very modest way, not unlike probably a lot of other people, but I come from I'm a first generation college graduate. I paid for college. I've been working since I was 13 years old. The first job I had where my name was on a paycheck was in retail in a drugstore. So, I feel that the ability to help people who don't have the networks that others might have to connect to a broader network and a place to find their journey is actually something I have a responsibility to do. So I have a lot of mentors that I've had in my life. I find every situation, I try to find somebody that I can learn from, and there's always somebody. So whether I'm on a board of directors or running a company or in meeting somebody like you, right? So I am curious and I'm always learning, but I also take that responsibility seriously about mentoring people all the time.
When I talk to entrepreneurs that come to Latin America, I always try to guide them on what was my journey and the things that I learned. And definitely it was not a straightforward path, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of challenges, obstacles. But if I look at the big picture today, and I can summarize, we started a company in Uruguay. I moved to San Francisco. We raised money from investors in Silicon Valley. And we closed big clients in the United States, which is one of the biggest things, I think, when you're starting your own company at the beginning, getting that credibility. And then we sold the company to ULTA Beauty, one of the biggest beauty corporations in the United States. So when you look at that story, I can see some key learnings that, in a way, got me there. Now, if I look at you as a CEO of ULTA. I don't know what's that path that got you there, right? So I would like to ask you, what were your key learnings on that journey? And if you have to say to somebody in the audience or to somebody like me, what was it that it took you to get there where you are today?
How much time do you guys have? And we don't have a lot of time. No, it's a great question. I'm getting the signal. You are good at that, by the way. I like that. But I will try to be very brief and just say that, I guess everybody's journey is different. And I said a little bit about my journey in that I never imagined when I was a young person I'd be the CEO of a company. So the notion of believing that anything is possible, but as simple as it sounds, working really hard. I have 4 children, and that's been a journey as well. They're all adults now, and they've been part of my business life as well as my family life. But I would say maybe the common threads are I've always led through the lens of guest and consumer insights because I've always been in consumer businesses, so really deeply understanding the guest. Deeply understanding, respecting the views of our employees, I think, is important in any company. Everybody says that, but to do something about it is sometimes a little different. And then I think the third is just, leading with authenticity. So, the one thing people would say most often if they meet me in our stores or any place is, sometimes you're not what I would have thought for a CEO. Well, that's because I'm just who I am every day the same, right? So I think trying to figure out what's your authentic way of leading and being true to that has been helpful for me as well. And we have 1 minute left.
Yeah, last question. So today you're a role model for young girls, for future CEOs, right? So going back a bit to the video that we saw, I would like to know what is actually your dream and your goal that you are working towards today?
Well, I would say at Ulta Beauty, and I'm not saying this just because I'm here, but my dream is that we really aggressively get even more diverse in our representation in our company and our leadership. It's interesting, we're 92% women, so we've got that pretty well covered, and part of my job is to make sure that men know they can also grow a career at our company, which sounds kind of interesting. But as it relates to representing people of various ethnicities, we over-index on Hispanics actually at our company because of our large field organization. A lot of our stores have folks, but as you raise up through the ranks in terms of leadership positions, we have work to do as it relates to representation, and that my dream is that we'll represent the U.S. more fully in the future. And that's it. Okay, thank you.
That's amazing. And we've heard a lot. We know that Latinas are entrepreneurs, but we also know that we don't scale up. We actually have 6 times faster than any other group in America create jobs, but we stay in 2 to 3 entrepreneurs and 2 or 3 staff members. So if media organizations were looking for success stories, if you were looking for role models, here, take Agustina, the entrepreneur Latina that scaled up and actually was acquired by an ULTA Beauty. There we go.